Hi, welcome to my channel. Um, Roller coaster of storms. I'm Stormy. This is my first live. I am super nervous. But this is my live journal, and this is something I want to create for my healing journey. It's easier for me to go live just for the fact that I have 9 animals, and we're going to hear them from time to time. Ah, ah, ah. Ziggy, thank you. So you'll hear some squeaky toys, some barks, some meows, and probably see a few of them as well. They are part of my healing. Hi, Ziggy. So they get unfettered access to me as I am going through this process. So the reason I started this channel and the reason I'm doing all of this is because one, I love to talk. Hi, my name's Stormy. I love to talk. Read it on my report cards. I got in trouble for speaking a lot. Also, probably because of my diagnoses, but we'll jump into that in a moment. Secondly, I have borderline personality disorder, or commonly known as BPD, and miscommonly known as bipolar disorder. I'm also have fibromyalgia, which I'm pretty sure goes hand in hand, which is way fun. I also have PTSD, which once you hear my experiences, you're like, duh. I just never realized I was living in PTSD till a few days ago. That's what happens when you get a new doctor. All of a sudden, your mind thinks a little bit differently, and you go, wow. Okay, now I do see this. No one's ever focused on this before. And I'm also currently on the path, he's getting a bone, currently on the path of trying to get an autism diagnosis. I did see a doctor, and the doctor, him and I didn't really get along, but in his notes that he did state that he believes I am on the spectrum, which would make sense for a lot of things in my life that never made sense before, or why I don't know if it's imposter syndrome or the fact that I just never felt like I fit in anywhere. Um, so yeah, welcome to my journey. Welcome to our journey, possibly. As they say that most say that healing is lonely, but not if you have the right support circle, which unfortunately doesn't always include your family. Um, but we'll hear again more about that. So, some common things about BPD. I have notes and notes because I like to handwrite things and I'm a weirdo and it's just more organic for me. And I don't know why I called myself a weirdo. Yeah, probably because I don't have a very good, stable self image of myself. Yay. So far, those that do or do not understand or get BPD, I'll try to kind of help explain it, but I've been explaining it to people in my life for a long time, and not everyone gets it or understands it or thinks that I just want to be dramatic. um, but let's start off that BPD is a cluster B personality type disorder. There are no meds for BPD. There are medications to calm the symptoms, but there isn't an actual med for borderline personality disorder. So, just for everyone that's aware, it takes lots of therapy and managing symptoms and being very honest with yourself. So, BPD meets 9 criteria. I think it's 7 or 9 that you have to actually be BPD, but I need to double check that. So, I will do that for my next live. I didn't write that down. Anyways, I know I have a bunch of them. So let me go through and again, borderline personality disorder does mimic autism, and it does mimic ADHD, and it does mimic narcissism. So like you might have some of these and you might just exhibit borderline personality disorder. You might exhibit other things. Doesn't necessarily mean you have it. Please go to speak to a therapist, especially someone that is more common in borderline personality disorder. It is gaining more speed and picking up more. So I just want to make that more aware that it's constantly evolving right now, just because it's underdiagnosed and misdiagnosed a lot. So we have fear of abandonment, unstable relationships, impulsive behaviors, the S word, or harming yourself, unstable self-image or a sense of self, paranoid idealization, delusions, or severe dissociation. Um, and that can be explained easily in My Crazy Ex-Girlfriend on Netflix. You have instability / mood swings, chronic feelings of emptiness or nothingness, and I can explain that a little further down the road. Inappropriate / intense anger and extreme mood swings, which is also with the instability. Sorry, I speak really fast. So what can cause borderline personality disorder? There's actually a multitude of things that go into it. So it isn't just necessarily one thing that can spark borderline personality disorder. And borderline personality disorder also matches with other diagnoses such as depression, anxiety disorders, eating disorders, PTSD, bipolar disorder, and substance use disorder. So you can get borderline personality disorder from genetics. Fun, right? Especially if your parents aren't diagnosed with it. You have no idea what's going on. Obviously, altered levels of serotonin in your brain. That seems to be a big one for many people. These serotonin levels have been linked to depression, aggression, and difficulty controlling destructive urges. And I definitely have had some destructive urges. There is a scar on my head that proves it. They also show that in the brain, the 3 parts of the brain that were smaller or had high levels of activity was the amygdala, which is regulating your emotions, which can be the more negative emotions like your fear, your aggression, and your anxiety. Your hippocampus, which helps regulate behavior and self-control, impulsivity, and then your orbitofrontal cortex, which is involved in your planning and your decision making. So the development of these parts are affected at an early age, and all 3 of those parts actually are responsible for your mood regulation. So it doesn't like it. I don't. I don't know if I can say this, but like it makes me feel crazy. Like it's like, oh my goodness, I'm just not meant to win because all these factors are against me, right? Well, let's get to your environmental factors. The environmental factors would be obviously how you grew up, how you were raised or treated, or, things that happen in school. So being a victim of emotional, physical, or sexual abuse, being exposed to long-term fear or distress as a child, check. Being neglected by one or both parents, check. And growing up with another family member who has a serious mental health condition or substance use disorder. Check and check. So if you couple that with having autism spectrum disorder, or being on the spectrum, or just being autistic, man, it is hard to regulate. And even worse so when you have all of these environmental factors involved. So for those that are watching or will watch or however, like I said, this is my live journal. I'm doing this for myself. I'll be responsible for my own emotions, my own feelings, my own reactions. So I'm going to talk. And for BPD, this is a mind-body connection, which is why therapy and mindfulness and feeling good helps, but also stinks when you have fibromyalgia and you can't really make yourself feel good because of the pain. It also makes it very difficult for us to be comfortable in our skin. And I used to get this question a lot because I am tattooed, is that why? Why would you do this? Or why this? Why this, way? And I always just said, I wasn't comfortable in my skin. Like, I don't like the skin that I have. So I want to make the skin something that I do feel proud of and I am appreciative for, something that will make me feel confident walking out the door. And a very stuck quote from my mother was, "Well, you're pretty. Why do you have any problems?" Ooh, thanks. Yeah, that didn't help a lot. So that gave me a lot of, I won't say negative self-image, but like it made me not trust like my brain and what was going on with me on the inside and going, yeah, I am fucked up. I am messed up. I'm really trying not to curse. I do curse a lot. I am messed up. I am messed up. There is something wrong with me. It is in my brain. I'm the one that has to figure this shit out because okay. I'm the one that has to figure this out, and I'm the one that has to like force myself to figure out why I don't fit in with other people. So being at a young age, that was difficult. And then going through puberty and high school and all of that stuff is even more difficult. So, I want to speak more about BPD. Yeah, let me try to explain BPD. When people like, oh, it's dramatic, they're showboating, they're loud, they're this, they're that, they're aggressive. I like to describe borderline personality disorder as everyone in life has their box of crayons. Some get 16, some get 12, some may even get 8. Others are lucky to get, 24. Me, I got like 54 emotions. And sometimes it's even more than that, it may seem. And sometimes it's 0. It's nothing. Yeah. So while other people are creating a picture and it's a pretty solid picture, it's not too bold, it's not too dark, it flows really well, it's not very abstract, and they can just continue through life that way. My box of crayons has neon crayons, has glitter crayons, it's pastel. We've got really dark colors, really rich colors. Sometimes we have just all one type of shade of color. It really depends on the day I open the box, which is really hard sometimes. And other times it's really fun. Welcome to the balance of BPD. We have black and white thinking. We do something we call splitting, where we think all or nothing, good and bad, right and wrong, justice and injustice. They're very strong. And in our wise mind, we have to go into this gray thinking and consider facts and consider other things that might be happening that we're not seeing right off the front, or that our emotions, because if we could see it first, then our emotions wouldn't be so big. But what our emotions can't really see first, because we're hurt, we're this, we're whatever, we're overly excited, and we then just separate everything. And sometimes it's not everything. Sometimes it's one person. One person can be all good and all bad at the same time. And I just split, and I just go from this, and I go from this, and I go from this. Thankfully, that hasn't happened in quite some time. I have been in therapy since roughly 2015. I went in for insomnia, and then I got addicted to Ambien. And I was still trying to live a life, and I was still trying to push my body to do things, even though my body was breaking down. Not sleeping didn't help at all. I read so many books in those years. And it took a lot of diagnosis. Schizoaffective disorder, mood swings, bipolar disorder. There was another one I had. Atypical depression, I think, was on there, and something else. So I also got to try a lot of different medications, which a lot did not work for me, which might explain it if I'm on the spectrum. Maybe it makes sense why a lot of medications didn't work for me. Instead, I just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and at one point reached 265 pounds. It wasn't until end of 2017, beginning of 2018, that I was on six doctor in therapy, both psychiatrists and regular therapists, CBT therapists, psychotherapists, that BPD was kind of being taken down in notes, but wasn't exactly explained to me until there became an option for me to go to inpatient treatment. Um, I'll kind of stop it right there just for the fact that I want to kind of delve into this into a long story chain. Hopefully I do ramble and I do kind of jump around from time to time. So hopefully I will be able to keep myself more on track by taking the notes and making sure I keep things more short and my lives more short. So that way I will always be able to remember where I was going with the point I'm trying to make, or if I'm trying to make a point, or I'm just hello to whoever's watching. Thank you. You're my first viewer. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you joining me. Welcome and enjoy the ride of the roller coaster. So as I was saying, I got a lot of misdiagnoses and I got a lot of medications. And if I didn't have my husband, my best friend, which didn't occur till a lot later in life. Well, not my husband. We'll talk about him in a minute. But my best friend definitely did. Me alone would not have battled for myself to continue finding other therapies, to continue to find a diagnosis that fit. Because a lot of the things that they would throw at me, I would go home and I would research. Hey, phony. I would go home and I would research. And when I did the research and read into the things and the symptoms and the causes, like nothing really quite fit until that diagnosis came. So needless to say, if you feel like things may fit or it may be something you are interested in looking into, go ahead and do it. It doesn't hurt. Especially because you're the one that knows your trauma. You're the one that knows your experiences. You're the one that knows what you are. Just because we don't understand what we are doesn't mean we don't know ourselves. And that's a lot that I had to fight with a lot of doctors over not only my mental health, but my physical health, is that they didn't want to believe me because they couldn't see the things that were wrong with me. Which one of them they eventually did find, but it took 10 years and a lot of fighting and a lot of pain and a lot of wanting to give up and sometimes trying. So take a deep breath. Let me calm. I don't want to go down that darkness just yet. I don't know. Like that attempting seems very dark, but if I explain my life, and albeit many people out there have it way worse than me, many people continue to have it worse than me. Others have different types of pain than we do. Like everyone's trauma is their own trauma. It's not a game. Nobody wants to win. You know, we're all on a roller coaster of our own. And while some people's goes crazy up and down and spins and backwards and shoots you out and jumps over something, others people are very calm and easy. Simple, nice things, maybe a wooden roller coaster up in there. And others are really simple and just have a loop, you know? We might be jealous of them, but it's just a loop. Sometimes it is fun to have the exciting highs, and even the low lows teach us something. So I have my handy dandy notebook here. I'm going to be taking notes as I speak about what I'm speaking on, to make sure, again, like I said, that I don't get too sidetracked. So we talked about the multiple diagnoses and medications and what is BPD. All right. So let's see. What am I at? 18 minutes. I talk way too fast. Way too fast. Ooh, 19 minutes. 19 is my number. And BPD is. So. I am 37 years old. I'll be 38 this year. And being in therapy for as long as I have, in many different types of therapies, I actually am in therapy. I have an appointment at 1:00 p.m. my time. And I have psychiatry that I see. I'm actually going to see a PTSD specialist because I've never had direct therapy for PTSD. And I will be, I do see horse therapy every 2 weeks, and I go out and drive an hour to go hang out with some horses and do a lot of mindfulness, a lot of mindfulness. Choosing the path to heal your trauma is fucking hard. It's not easy. It's not simple. It hurts. You cry. You get angry. You give up. You don't click with people. Things don't make sense. And then sometimes, bam, they just make the most sense and everything makes sense. And you get mad because why couldn't you found this out 20 years ago and, had a whole different path? Who knows, right? If we want to believe everything happens for a reason, then we're supposed to believe that it does. I am not religious. I will put that out there, and I will make some comments that some may not like or understand. But my experience and my journey has led me down this path, and no one can tell me differently. I have to experience my path as my path, and I'm going to believe what feels right for me. No, sir, Bowie. So following God does not feel right for me because of the many misteachings that are out there, and for the fact that, why would he let so many children suffer? So many children suffer in silence. Bobos. So politically, I am also very left-leaning. And you might also hear some comments because I am reading news stories and doing things. And like a news story that really set me off was the mom who poisoned her kid's bully. That was a really upsetting story. And what was more upsetting was the amount of people that were for the mom who was poisoning her child's bully, which her affidavit even states that wasn't the case. But anyways, that might be another topic for another day we can get into, and I can just vent and rant on that, which I probably will do on my live journal, is vent and rant a little bit. But usually it's always going to come back around to an experience that was in my life. So anyways, wow, this is a little bit harder than I realized. Anyways, let's dive in a little bit. I was born in Florida. Yay. I am the product of my mother and my father. I am their only product. They were together roughly 6 months after I was born. And then there's a lot of physical abuse, a lot of emotional abuse. Yeah. Drug use, substance use. I mean, let's use the right way, substance use. So I was the product of them. And it wasn't until I was about 5, then I had another sibling who was also the only product of my mother and their father. And I remember tidbits in my life. My mother, very, very big point of contention here, but my mother, she always told me, I don't remember things right. I have a bad memory. I have a photographic memory. And while I may not remember the circumstances around what is pictured in my head, what is pictured in my head is still true. And I know that's true because I caught her off guard because I explained a memory that I had and she was speechless. I think I was about 3. It was definitely before my sister was born, and we were living in Alabama at the time. So 3 or 4 roughly. We went to this really, really cool park in Alabama that I really, really liked. It had a playground at the front. I wasn't interested in the playground. Yeah, swings are always fun. Swings are my thing. I like to rock. I like to swing. Could be, a sign of something, but hey. If you went past the playground area, the picnic area, I had my 5th birthday there. Or 6th birthday. Nope, 5th birthday, 6th birthday. I can't remember which one it was. I have pictures, but I just don't remember exactly the age. You walk past the park, past the picnic tables, past the pavilions, and it was like not cliffs. I mean, there were you could fall off, but caves and yeah, it has to be a cliff because people would run and hang glide off the cliff if you made it all the way to the top. So it was really cool because I got to go in caves and I got to see bats and get surrounded by bats and bat guano, and I picked up skinks and we were watching hang glide. Like, this is a park we went to a lot. And one of the times I was there, it was my mother and her friend. I don't think it was someone she was hooking up with at the time, but it was a male friend. And I ran to the swings and got on the swings, and my mother and her friend were walking along the woods side and they saw something and they told me not to look, and I'm going to do it because my mom told me not to touch something hot one time. It was an iron and I touched it, right? So I have to look. And I waited, and then I turned over my shoulder and I looked, and here my mother is with a fleshy fucking dildo in her hand that someone was fucking in the woods, I guess, with. And she picked it up and was wagging around and laughing about it. I can't remember exactly what was said, but I kept that one to myself for a while, and I pulled it out at a good time where she once again said my memory was crap. I didn't remember things right. I have a terrible memory. And then I pulled that out and she didn't have anything to say about that. I saw my first penis in Alabama as well, real penis. So I both saw a fleshy plastic penis and a real penis, which I thought was a snake because I'm just a kid and I have no idea. It was again around 3, 4, 5. I can't remember if my sister was born yet. I know we shared a room. I don't think I remember seeing her crib against the wall yet, but my mom's lanyard had come over and needed to speak to her, and her room was connected to my room. And so I walked through the house and knocked and no one answered. So I just peeked in like I always do. And there was a penis staring back at me. And yeah, I was like, mom, landlord. And I just shut the door and I don't know if I crawled into bed or I went back to watching not my TV, the TV in the living room. Yeah, because it had to be the weekend. I wasn't in school. In that house, I also remember Harley dying, and I thought it was Frankenstein coming to get me. And he had tetanus, and he was dying because he was getting stiff. And we also had huskies in that house. That Scooter, he was one of my favorite. Jump on the counters all the time and lay on the counters. They would run away or they would get stolen. I had Jessie, some Weimaraner, who I had to feed every morning before I went to kindergarten, and she'd always jump on my clothes, and then I had to go change again. Kathy would get frustrated. Yeah. Love that dog. I also remember my mother mopping up at the time I thought was jam that was spilled on the floor, and I was sitting at the dining room table wanting to eat some breakfast. Later on, did she tell me that it was blood and that my siblings' father had tried to kill themselves. I remember catching lightning bugs out in the field. I remember my teacher coming over because I was a good kid. I was a good student, and they appreciated that I was a good student. I read early on. I was reading chapter books. At least by first grade, I was reading James and the Giant Peach every night to my mother. I still have that book, actually. It's up on my top shelf. Yeah, lots of books. Lots of things I collect. I remember getting chicken pox in that house and being so itchy. I remember having lots of ear problems in that house and having to take baths with stuff in my ears, and I hated it, and frustrating. I remember my mom popping zits on my sibling's father, and I thought there were worms coming out of his back. Yeah. A lot of mixed emotions, especially because my father lived in Florida and I would only see him certain times, usually summer. And it was a drive. My mother was 23 and my father was 18 when I arrived to the world. So needless to say, they're pretty young and not very equipped to handle a child. And my father would come and get me, and then we could stop in a motel for the night, maybe, depending on if he got me after work. And he would go on dates and leave this toddler alone in a hotel room. And he liked scary movies, so I tried to watch scary movies, and that's why I'm terrified of Freddy Krueger. You have to sleep. He's going to get you. Him speeding in the Z he had, like Z28, I think, or the Corvette he had. Sometimes me being crammed in the back seat of the Corvette where the speaker, there was no back seats, there was a speaker, and having to lay on the speaker on pillows because my stepmom, or his girlfriend at the time, joined. I remember when we moved back to Florida from Alabama, and we stayed with my father's uncle. I never felt safe around my uncle. He never did anything. Never said anything. Maybe it's just because my father always brought me to his house, either before or after picking me up, and drinking and drinking and drinking, and both of them. And yeah. Anyways, we lived with him and his wife and his daughter while my mother tried to find a job or a house or something for us. We had a cat. She got killed. Well, she was getting chased and then jumped over a fence, and her stomach or fur or something got hooked on the metal fence and ripped her open. I had to give away my cat before we moved. Sorry, I'm going to cry. It's hard with animals. My mom broke her leg at that house. Apparently, my uncle tried to hit on my mom in that house. So eventually we got our own place, and it was a different house than what we've been in. And it was a house that was originally used for band practice. So I had this huge wide front door and this huge living room. And the landlord had painted Disney characters in the back. So blame that for my Batman and Disney, because my mom took me to caves and took me to see Batman Returns when I was a kid. And God, I remember watching Batman Returns. Sorry, I don't. It was in Alabama. I remember watching Batman Returns, and I remember empathizing with the Penguin. And I remember being upset that nobody wanted that kid because he was different. I always cry when he dies. Because he didn't ask for any of it. Yeah. He didn't ask to be born. So, anyways, it's probably why I love Batman. I'm covered with Batman tattoos. And I used to swing on the swing sets all alone and go na 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 Batman. Being in that house, it was off of Live Oak. So the Live Oak house. I think it was when I really stopped feeling safe. And had to question everything I do. My mother and father fought a lot, which makes sense, especially if she's narcissistic, which we'll get into that later. Living in the Live Oak house, there were some opportunities there that I would have never been offered, I guess. Some modeling work, some commercial work, and some movie work. My mother would not allow me to do any of it. And I remember later on in life in a different house, her telling me modeling is stupid. It's not a real job. It's not a real career. Sorry, anxious. In the Live Oak house is also where I started to get feelings of jealousy for my sister because she was getting a side of my mother that I don't remember getting. Very playful, very having fun, or it was a side that I didn't get anymore. Because I remember I was standing at the sink on a chair, washing dishes. 7, 8. And I broke a dish while she was outside playing with my sister. And I was terrified of letting her know that I broke that dish because I didn't want to get in trouble. I don't remember when we started getting yelled at a lot or getting abused. She called us stupid or lazy or big babies all the time. I just know I was terrified of telling her, I'm okay, baby. This is my emotional support dog. Seems doodly do. And he hears me crying, so he came to check on me, and that's my baby Bowie. Hi, baby Bowie. I'm okay, boys. I'm okay. It's okay. I love you too. Mommy's talking though, okay? Can mommy talk for a little bit? Why don't you lay down right here? Why don't you lay down right here? Okay. Okay, come on. Bowie, there's no room. Bowie, stay. Bowie! He has a shirt on because he had surgery. Anyways. I would remember getting yelled at when we wouldn't be able to finish our meals or didn't want to, or whatever the case was. Where our dining room was, I believe it was a circle table. And if I was sitting at the table, my back would be to the living room. To the right of me would be the kitchen, and in front of me would be the bathroom. And on either side of the bathroom door were corners, and you could actually see our tear stains on the walls of these corners where we would just sit and she would watch TV, and we would just be crying in these corners because we're unable to finish our food, or, whatever the case may be, whatever we got in trouble for. I also remember being in that house and being 8 or 9, pooping my pants in bed during a dream. During a Little Rascals dream. Froggy was on the toilet in my Little Rascals dream, and everyone's telling me to do it. Do you want to go play with your brothers? Why don't you go play? Okay. So I woke up, knew what I immediately did, took off my underwear, flushed the poo down the toilet, took the underwear to the kitchen garbage, dug it to push it down as far as I could, changed my sheets, put new sheets on, and no one ever asked me or questioned anything, so I have no idea if she knew or not. I just didn't want to get in trouble for having an accident. I also remember being with my Grandma Green. Hi, buddy. My mom used her as a free babysitter, so my mom had to work, and obviously my father had to work, and I don't know how much she trusted my father, to be honest. But Grandma Green drove buses, and so did my Uncle Ronnie. So Grandma Green drove buses, and the buses she drove during the summer were for school activities and summer camp type of thing. And it was for middle school and sometimes high school. And we would get to join because we were her grandkids. And it was I don't know if it was a perk or the school just didn't care because they already paid for so many students. So what harm could 3 more do or 1 more do depending on the day? So myself and my 2 cousins on my dad's side got to ride a school bus every day during the summer. Sometimes an empty bus, we get to play on it. That was kind of fun. But then we go to summer camp and we would go swim in a pool. We would go to the movies with other kids. I remember watching Dennis the Menace in the middle of the aisle floor because there wasn't enough seats for the kids. Can't do that anymore. Dusty, can you not mess with my stuff today? Roller skating. I loved when we went roller skating, bowling, a lot of really fun stuff. And it got me away and it got me to do something different. And I remember being extremely jealous of this little girl who had a daddy that was spending time with her. That was hard. I got liced up my Grandma Greens a couple times, so that made my mom mad. What she didn't know, and what she continues to avoid, is that I also was essayed at my Grandma Green's house by my cousins. And that happened at the house during bath time, on the bus when my grandma had to run into Albertsons or Food Lion. And I knew if I told my mother that this would start a fight and that there was a chance I wouldn't see my grandma or my dad again because she couldn't trust them and she would just be so angry. And I didn't want that taken away from me. So I never told. I never said anything. And I just said I didn't feel good or I didn't want to go on the bus rides anymore. I didn't want to stay the night anymore. And I would assume that would be a sign, but nobody asked me, and so I didn't tell. That's a lot for a child to take on. Also in that house, my second grade teacher called my mom constantly, not being able to handle me or manage me. Maybe it wasn't. No, it wasn't in that house. Yes. Southside Estates. Yes, it wasn't that. Yeah, it was in that house. And me being tested, turning out I have a photographic memory and I am too gifted for my teacher. And I was too smart for the class and I had to go to a more challenging school, which then put me into a magnet school for a few years, which I really, really enjoyed. I remember making a friend in the neighborhood. Actually, I had two friends in the neighborhood. My mom didn't care for either. And they were both on different sides of the spectrum of rich or poor. Neither was good enough. Third grade, I was in a magnet school. Loved my teacher, became my teacher's pet. Had Mac lab, IBM lab, computers in our classroom. We had music, we had art. We had a guidance counselor who would come and spend time with us. I became a peer counselor in that school because I thought if I could learn techniques to stop from getting abused, then I would have succeeded. Maybe my mom just doesn't know these techniques and I can teach her and our life will be better. I think I'm going to end it around third grade. I think I'm going to come back and jump into third grade because things just start getting heavier from here. And I don't know if I'm ready for all of that on the first show. I don't know if anyone else is ready for all that listening for the first time. This is also a pretty long live already. I don't want to make him too long. Because I want, as gross as it is, to have some enjoyment out of this, to find something out of this, and to find healing or seeking or understanding or not feeling alone. Needs to say it's going to be more sharing, more raw, more tumultuous emotions, possibly. Welcome to the storm. It's a roller coaster. It's stormy. It's unpredictable weather. But I'm managing. We're managing. And I will continue to manage and hopefully continue to heal. Thank you for anyone who is watching. Thank you for anyone that will watch. Thank you for anyone that shares. I'm here. Like, I will not be available all the time for everyone. There's just, my capacity does not allow that. But I am here for interactions. And I am here for some guidance, as well as like I want guidance. I want advice. I want tools. I want things that I've not tried before that could help me. So I'm really open to just anything that it's not going to make me feel better. It's just going to make me be better at managing myself. And in the long run, that will make me feel better, I hope. I think so, because I've changed at least a bit in the past 5 or 6 years. pretty sure for the better. You might have to get a consensus on that. But yeah. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the time. Thank you for giving me the space. I'm happy to be able to start this. I am still terrified. I am still nervous. I might have to go to the bathroom after this. But yeah. I'm not sure when I'll do this again. I wanted to do this yesterday. I do want to at least try for Wednesdays. I want to make it a workbook Wednesday. I have lots of workbooks. I have lots of handouts. I have DPT cards. I have BPD cards. I have lots of things that not only for myself, I need to make myself more accountable for and making sure I'm keeping my tools in check, but for anyone who doesn't have access to these things, who can't get access or doesn't know how to gain access, at least you can gain a little bit of knowledge through here and a little bit of insight to yourself. Oh, we're done now? Yeah, we're going to be done. We're going to be done and then I'll take you outside, okay? I'm sure Daddy's probably sitting in the driveway waiting to come inside. I know. All right. Well, let me take these boys out. Let them go run around and be crazy before the rain comes, because where I'm at, it's a 50-50 chance that it's going to be raining. Yes, I love you too. Thank you. And hopefully I will see you soon. Oh, this eyebrow. I have a bad habit of raising my eyebrow, and I'm going to look crook a lot. So don't mind my rock eyebrow. I'm a product of the generation. Anyways, everyone have a great week. Have a great weekend. Have a good day. Have an okay day. Have a day where you exist to give yourself space and comfort and kindness, which I do not do a lot of myself. So I will also try to implement some kindness for myself today and try not to rip apart this video that I'm about to post, or I am posting. It's posted. It's live. God, don't be a boomer. Ugh. Yeah. Bye.